that's what we'll title this video whenever it's done. All right, so that's here we go. We're live. I'm gonna pull the chat up here, kind of like this, and we'll probably just wait a few minutes for some people to come in, and I might play some music. Everybody trickles down. Let me find the chat on your end. How do I chat?
Chat on my end? I'm just gonna watch a stream.
Hey Jason, how's it going? I'm trying to figure out how to get back to your thing on Discord, and then technical difficulties. I haven't even started yet. Problems. Oh, there we go. Okay, there's that. Hey. Computers are dumb. Yeah. I can tell you whatever you want about your DAW, but computers in general. Oh no, Hako, I lost you.
What? I'm right here.
I think that Discord enabled streamer mode.
Oh.
Oh, there you are. You're back. You have returned. Huh. Okay. Pero?
I think I might be quiet. Am I too quiet?
Say hello. Hako, say hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I think you're okay. Jason says, sounds good to me. There you are.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry, just trying to organize this in a way that's going to make sense to all of us, so that way we can get chat here. Oh, computers. Wait, I actually don't need this. All right. One last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with the Discord, and then we'll wait for everybody to come in and we'll get started. Sorry, doing all this behind the scenes. You really don't know what I'm setting you up for, do you?
I just imagine my video comes on, it's just like a clown filter over it.
Right? There's like a bunch of inappropriate drawing and stuff.
It's a loser neon sign.
I wouldn't do that to you. At least not yet. Captain Morgan. All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back. I am super thrilled to have Hakobo here. I normally say his name by many things, which I'm not going to describe today, but it's pretty obvious that I mispronounce his name all the time. Hakobo, am I saying your name correctly this time?
Yes, it is Hakobo.
Awesome. Welcome to the stream, man. I really appreciate you coming on and making some time for us. And I think like one thing that's super cool is just having a community here to do a lot of interaction between everybody and have some really amazing things and amazing people that are coming up. I think that like for you and I, it's really neat to kind of sit down and finally have a chat too, because I find that a lot of your subscriber base and my subscriber base are the same people. I want to say that everybody that knows you knows who, not everybody, but for the majority of people that know you, know me, and kind of vice versa, right? So why not? It's kind of time.
Yeah, they better, you know?
They better. Those people. I think that like yeah, like cross promotion is definitely a useful thing. And for some reason, my webcam isn't working, so I'm secretly trying to talk in the background while I fix it. However,
no, yeah. We're just getting started, so I mean, take your time. Make sure we get it right.
It's totally fine. I mean, if for whatever reason you're just gonna kind of have to look at yourself and try to look cool and make good poses in the background, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I brought Hakobo here today to pronounce his name wrong on stream in front of him and be super disrespectful. But also, one of the biggest things that I wanted to kind of talk about with him were just kind of like things that were going on in today's world. We have some discussions to talk about his production, some things to talk about with just a lot of different topics in general. So yeah, thanks again so much for joining us. Like, do you want to tell us about your music and maybe even about your channel as well?
Hi guys, I'm Hakobo. Uh,
Beautiful.
I've been writing music. I've been playing piano since I was about 10. I'm 28 now, and I started doing electronic music since I heard Dota by Bass Hunter. That was my jam in my sophomore year of high school, and I just made really weird, happy hardcore music on Newgrounds under the name Relica, up until I was about like 18, 19. Then I stopped, and then I kind of had this like weird falling away with music for a long time. I would like dabble and listen to a lot of music, but it wasn't until like maybe about 2, 3 years ago that I got super back into it, and I just was making small, chill, like little beats on SoundCloud, and then I just kept getting like learning more and more, and then once quarantine started, I was just really bored, so I decided to start a YouTube channel to kind of just start doing sound design. I started just making videos for Serum, and I didn't even really know a lot in terms of like sound design. I just kind of I'm like the pinnacle of fake it till you make it. So I just had like a few good sounds that I knew, and I made videos and they did well. And I would just sit there and try really hard and like go through patches and like break them down and try to learn things from them that I could teach other people. So my videos have kind of been simultaneously me learning next to my audience and me just kind of sharing what I'm getting to kind of sum it up.
That's really cool that you say that. I kind of want to say that at the beginning of me starting my channel, it was kind of the same thing, but it's pretty impressive, like how much of a subscriber base that you've built in such a short amount of time, right? Like I joke around and I tell people, but I wouldn't be surprised if like just from the kind of content that you make, if you even like, not that we're competing or anything, but that you surpass my subscriber base. So you definitely found like a really cool audience, and I'm really impressed with like how quickly your channel is growing, and it's kind of cool for one to be a part of it. But do you feel now that you're stepping into a more confident position, or do you still feel like this process that you have with learning and making videos is still just as important as when you first started?
So it's nice to be getting like subscribers every day, even though I'm not actively. It's nice to be sucked up by YouTube's algorithm and have people clicking on my videos and checking my content out. But it comes with a lot of different things. One of them is that I get to see what words people are searching, and the two words that people find my channel the most are rhythm and neuro. So it's hard to resist the urge to just make a bunch of rhythm and neuro videos all the time, and I want to stay true to like getting more underground West Coast sounds that people would like to know, and sounds that aren't touched on, because rhythm and like neuro is just beaten to death to some degree. I would say neuro less so than rhythm, but it's hard to do that. And two, I would say a lot of my user base kind of has come from me posting on Reddit. I'd say for the first half of my YouTube career, I would just go on Reddit anytime I made a video on EDM production subreddit, and I would just post my video, and it would do pretty okay.
Wow, yeah, don't underestimate the power of Reddit. That's pretty
So
cool.
yeah.
I mean, to be fair though, you are kind of in this world of like popular sounds and stuff, and I actually am interested to see like what other kind of like, because I've heard your music and I've heard your heavy stuff. Well, I've heard your heavy work in progresses. I haven't heard anything that's like actually from you in general, but I actually really admire a lot of the melodic stuff that you make, and I think that you have a great ear for that. Um, I know that you were talking about what you do is generally kind of like from these hot terms and stuff, but do you have any plans to make content regarding some of that stuff, like chill hip hop or like lo-fi in general, or do you actually have videos on that that I haven't seen?
I do have that one video how to make a chill beat, which I open up on how to create like the main idea behind like chill music and what my process is for the most part. I was gonna make it like a multi-part video, but then I was too lazy to actually do the rest of it, and I think that's a big if anything is going to ruin my channel, it's me not wanting to do content and me
Right.
just wanting.
I hear you, man. Like sometimes people ask me about Ableton tutorials, and sometimes they ask me about Serum tutorials, and that's kind of where the how every Serum tutorial ever came from, was just from all of those requests on that. And that wasn't a stab towards anybody in particular, especially Hakobo, hashtag TM. But at the same time, I feel like serum tutorials, for the most part, have just been overdone to death to where people are making the same exact processes, just changing the wavetable or just changing, like one thing and calling it something completely unique. So for you guys, if you guys haven't seen Hakobo's uh, tutorials, one thing that's pretty neat is that he actually has a large variety of different sounds that, like, some people have done some of that stuff before, but his take is a fresh thing on. I really encourage you guys to go and check that stuff out because at first glance, I feel like there's not really a lot to Serum. It like you can get through the beginning and end of it pretty
You
quickly.
take that back.
It's so true though. Like, come on, compared to Phase Plant, like compared to Vital, even Vital, I would say, like there's a lot of different things that you can do, but I mean to go through the entire list of features, I would say, right? These days, in order for a Serum tutorial to stand out and be unique, you really have to use the most out of Serum. No?
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so yes, I agree. Although I will say that just with the wavetable editor, it really does come down. Once you get to a certain degree with the effects, it kind of just comes down to how you're using your wavetables for Serum, which I guess is the only reason it's still probably around. Like that's probably what separates it from like Massive, because Massive has like you could argue that Massive and Serum in terms of effects have just as many features. But the thing that kind of keeps Serum going is the fact that you can import wavetables and mess around with that. And I think that's kind of what a big part of why it continues to do okay and was as popular as it is today.
So, like, how did that make you feel when we dropped Vital?
I'm excited, dude. I'm gonna be real because I've been getting kind of. It's funny that you say this because I mean I have been enjoying Serum and I'm okay at it, but for the most part I've been looking for something. I know Faceplant exists.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't been confident enough to where I can teach people about it. But I feel like, excuse me, Vital is something I can pick up fast enough that I'm able to kind of start making content about it. And the fact that it's free makes me hope that Vital becomes very popular so that people will watch my videos more.
Man, I think that Vital is gonna, yeah, Vital's going places. Really, really happy for Matt to kind of finally put that stuff out because he worked his butt off for it, but it kind of shows. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like, how cool is that somebody developed something that was so familiar yet had enough unique features about it to push it into the next level. Like, you would think that that would be something that Steve Duda would have done. But in this particular case, like, one person went and did all this stuff and almost recreated Serum and then said, okay, now that I figured it out, I'm going to make it better.
Yeah, it's weird because Steve doesn't really post a I feel like I've looked. I don't see a lot about like his direction with Serum or where he's taking it, or if there's a plan for a new synth. So I feel like Vital came at an opportune time, just kind of snuck in there because I've been waiting for something kind of
Yeah.
um, familiar, especially like one of the things that like is hard for me with Faceplant is that I'm a very big visual feedback kind of guy. So putting LFOs on knobs and getting to visually see, how much they're what direction they're going really helps me. Whereas I feel like Faceplant has more of a like, what do you call it? Like, just it's more value based, I
Careful
guess you
with
could
your
say.
words.
And I'm just saying, like, it's not. I love Faceplant. I think it's very versatile and has a lot more potential than any other synth that I've used before. I'm just too dumb to use it. Is what I'm saying. So
No,
it's nice to see kind of one that meets. It's not that okay. I can learn it, but I'm also very lazy. So having something that kind of visually gives me feedback on what I'm doing a little more easy, which I feel is like Vital is like a perfect mix between the two. It gives you more options, like the random LFO, and the spectral morphing looks really cool, but isn't as intimidating as like phase plant comes off to me, if that makes sense.
yeah, it does. And we have a couple of questions in here that I'll get to in just a second. Vinyl records came out way before CDs were made. That's definitely true. I think, like, okay, so I think what, if it's okay for me to put words in your mouth for just a second, it's very easy to get lost in phase plant. If you have everything in front of you and there's LFOs on it and stuff, like, you do have that visual feedback. But once you start coming out of the menus and you have all these different things that are collapsed and whatnot, like, I would agree in saying that it's really easy to kind of lose track about what goes what or what's done what where. And there's also not a matrix table within Faceplant, and to some extent it's cool because you only have one tab unless if you open up something like multipass. But at the same time, within checking a list of your modulation sources, that actually doesn't exist. So okay, I'll give you that one. But to be fair, I would say like Faceplant is one of the most visually oriented things like that's on the market today, just because it, I mean, like the slice EQ, the modulators that pull up. I do like that the waveforms will change in the generators, depicting by the way that whatever it is that you're sending through it. So like if you have a square wave and then you have a notch filter, then you will actually see that change within the waveform there. That's something that I always enjoyed.
I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah,
But no, I'm just more referring to like the way that this is gonna sound really basic and dumb, but literally how like the lines around the knobs will light up when you put an LFO on something in Serum. That's more of what I'm talking about in terms of like it's just very easy for me to see what's going on.
it's in
Whereas like
Faceplant.
I haven't gotten there yet. That's all I'm saying. I'm not
I
saying it's not there. I just haven't gotten comfortable enough. I'm just very uncomfortable, man.
I hear you. And to be honest, like I said before too, I'm super biased. CK69 says, "Have you ever tried Wave Razor?" I personally haven't even heard of that.
Me neither. I
What
can
what
look into it right now.
yeah,
I
what is
feel like
that,
that's the
CK?
second time it's been offered to me.
Really? Yeah, I have. This is the first I've ever even heard of that. Jason says it probably didn't help when Faceplant started allowing embedding Snap Heap and Multipass within each other and Faceplant itself. But isn't that also like one of its coolest features, I feel? Um, so sorry, we got kind of like straight into VSTs and stuff, but while you're looking that up, I did have a question for you. Regarding like your artistry, right? I know that you have told us many times that Hakobo is actually Jacob in Spanish, right?
Yeah, well, it's not how it's spelled. It's like Hakobo is Jacobo, but the name comes from, I used to be in a band in high school, like a heavy metal band, and I did the keys and stuff and synth work, and it was named Breaking the Aura, and we never actually, I came in and filled in for their keyboardist left, and I filled in, and we used to meet at this frat house, um, and when I would get there, they'd all be drunk and smoking, and they would just look at me and they go Hakobo, and that's just kind of where it came from. That's why my like Instagram title is they call me Hakobo, and I just kind of changed it up to look a little bit more, I guess, like I wouldn't say Japanese, but I just thought like Hakobo looked cooler, so I just changed it to that, and it just kind of stuck.
Fair enough. Is that something that like you, I guess like let's say like you blew up tomorrow? Is that something that like you would want to stick with personally? Is that like a brand thing that you are really behind, or is that just kind of like a fun meme thing within that? And that question isn't really all that important. It's more of a curiosity thing, just because you started your channel with that brand name. But I guess the reason what I'm alluding to is I'm curious to know about your artistry and like what it is that you bring out, if that makes sense, or like what your, some people would describe it as an aesthetic, but since you cover such a wide range of content, I guess I'm kind of asking like if somebody were to talk about Hakobo as an artist, like what would you want them to think about?
That's a hard question because
Vanilla, vanilla.
I would say that it is a name that unless I come up with something that I like more, because that's kind of like what I do is I just do things that I enjoy and like, and Hakobo is just what sticks right now, I guess. So if maybe a different name that I liked better did come along, I wouldn't be like against changing it.
I mean,
As far as my artistry goes, it's kind of hard to say. I'm always changing what I want to do with music, and I feel like every time I listen to a certain genre or song, I'm like, I should stop saying "oh." I'm inspired to write that genre. So if I listen to, let's see, I was listening to Ford the other day, and he's more almost like a slow house. I can't think of it. It's almost like lo-fi house, and I'm just listening to his music, and just, I just want to write this. Or I'll listen to Noisia, and I'm like, well, neuro drum and bass it is. You know what I mean?
yeah, you kind
So
of
it's
go
kind of
where the
hard for me to.
inspiration takes you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's hard for me to really decide what I want to write. So usually it just comes down to me sitting down, and if I'm able to come up with a good idea for whatever genre, that's just what I go with.
Yeah, I feel that. Oh yeah, I'm just saying from the perspective of being able to see what's going on. Worded like trash. No, I got you. I got you. Wave Razor is from Mock. On the page, it says, "Unleash your dark side with Wave Razor, a futuristic synth that gives you the power to splice waveforms into aggressive new sounds." Uh, what?
Have you seen a picture of it? It
What?
looks very. It looks very interesting.
No, let's go ahead and pull it up. Sorry, I'm blocking your face for a second. I need a break. No, I'm kidding.
Oh no,
Oh, this
it's
looks interesting.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
What a hot mess. Oh my gosh.
My eyes are bleeding.
What the fuck?
I would hate to look at this synth
Yo, what up,
for
Kaiju?
hours.
I mean, I think it depends on how I think it depends on how this interacts with itself, right? But I mean, like
It's the editor mode.
yeah, the contrasting colors from this is really, oh my god. How much is this? It's $160 from Plugin Fox. I'll take a look at this later, but no, this is the first I've ever heard of this. Is there some kind of like particular appeal with this? A futuristic synth that gives you the power to splice waveforms into aggressive new sound. A patented oscillator. Okay, what the hell does that mean? I feel like my eyes would bleed after a while. That's exactly what Hakobo said. But the green is sick. Did you see that? That's cool. Okay, anyways, let's get back to his beautiful face. Yeah, I don't know. That's I'll take a look at that later. But that's the first that both he and I have ever heard of that. I guess like part of the reason why I asked you that though to begin with was again because it kind of alludes to like to a lot of your chill music and stuff. And I think like first of all, do you have any released music?
Yeah, my SoundCloud. All the music I played on your stream yesterday was released. Or was
Oh,
it yesterday or the day before? Whenever I sent music, that was all released music.
okay, cool. Yeah, let's definitely plug that in before the stream ends. But
Have you been on my SoundCloud,
dude,
Alckemy?
dude,
I'm starting to believe you haven't.
no, I haven't. I don't go
I
on
like your
anyone.
stuff.
I don't go on
I've
anyone's
gone on your
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. I've gone on your SoundCloud. I liked your music. I listened to it. This is this podcast is over.
Hako, please understand. To be honest, I really don't go on anyone's SoundCloud, and that's actually a great segue to get into what we had intended on discussing in the first place. If you want me to listen to your music, like send it to me because I will listen to it, and I do like your music as I've said before. But like SoundCloud is just, I hate SoundCloud. Somebody follows me, I just click follow back without even looking at their music, and it's not like as a dismissal, but I just feel like most of the people that are following these days anyways are like, you know, those people that are like follow for follow, bro, or something along the lines of like being a bot or whatever. And SoundCloud is just such a difficult thing to sort through that I've almost given up on it, to be fair. Cats.
The trick is to follow everyone so that they follow you back, and then you just unfollow them. That's the trick.
How
I
is
don't
that?
do that. I used to do that. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore.
How is that helpful to the community, though? Oh, SoundCloud
It's
bot.
not. And I know I'm not going to name them, but there are a few artists that are kind of popular that got popular on SoundCloud now that had followed me at some point and then just disappeared after, a week.
Kaijo said, happened to me. Yeah. Kaijo's one of your victims. I hope you're happy about that. Nice. Nice, Hako. Is Audius any better / different? Haven't checked it out. Venus Theory actually just put out a really interesting video on that topic, and he says no, not yet, but it's worth like putting your stuff on him per se. I don't know. Hako, do you have a take on that?
I actually haven't heard. I read about Audius today. I forget what artist. I think it was Blake Scorone. Maybe, I don't know, but I have no idea what Audius is.
So it's a new platform that's based around cryptocurrency in order to get paid. And so in theory, like you get paid an X amount of cryptocurrency, but assuming that cryptocurrency takes off in the future, it's supposed to be, there's more to it than that, but I'm just giving you like a really bad butchered summary of what it is. But yeah. Hold on, before we go on, Cats Don't Smile said, what is your time management like besides your job and stuff? Like, bro, what do you even do? Do you lift?
Wait, hold on. I'm on top chat.
Do you even lift? Do you? Huh? Do
Wait,
you? Do you?
who asked what? Where?
Cats Don't Smile said, "What is your time management like besides your job and stuff?"
Oh, my time. Okay, my time management has been absolutely awful. I'm going crazy right now because I work 3 shifts on the weekend. I have 5 classes that have been very giving in the workload that they have. I have a girlfriend that I love and want to give time to. I have a YouTube channel that I don't put enough time into at all. I love hanging out with my friends and doing my hobby, which is painting Warhammer and doing Warhammer, which has kind of been harder to do during the COVID. I do worship at um, my church, so I do like a rehearsal on Wednesdays and then go in on Sunday morning at 6 and stay there till 12:30. I do babysitting for with my girlfriend for some families so they can do like a Bible study or something like that during the week. So I just have all these things that I do, and I just have such a I just kind of do each day by day, and just procrastinate on my homework and get it done when I need to before it's like too late to get it done. And I still manage to get pretty decent. Like I get A's, and I think I might get a B plus. So I'm doing okay. I'm just at the same time, my time management is garbage because I don't have a schedule for like it's cost me like having a schedule for YouTube and being able to stream and create content consistently.
So basically, what he's saying is, be thankful that you get content at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
No,
Once it hits that 2 week mark, it's like crap. I need to make something. Like something needs to happen. I can't. I got people that are doing Patreon. I think once Patreon started and people started actually going on that and doing that, a lot of pressure kind of hit. That like, hey, I need to give these people value because they're actually giving me money. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. And whenever I had a Patreon, that was one of the things that like I don't feel like I didn't feel like I couldn't deliver what I was promising, but at the same time, I wanted to find something that I was going to that opened up a bigger door for feedback, if that makes sense. For the patrons that I had in general, like for one, I'm really grateful that I even had patrons to begin with. But at the same time, it was really difficult to reach out to them and be like, "Hey guys, like here are some ideas that I have," and rather than just pull the trigger on it and totally make you all upset, how can I like I'm looking to improve and all that stuff. And rather than try to go through it through that angle, that's why I personally opened up the Alchemy store to just say, "Here's what you get. This is exactly what you're paying for," and I think that it's a better for me personally, right? So I'm not talking about you, but for me personally, it's a better means of being like, you know exactly what you get, and I want you to be happy with your purchase. But you know what I mean? Like at the same time, for some other people, like with this in particular, um, like with Patreon, like if you can come up with cool samples and stuff, like if somebody signs on to your Patreon, I do think that there should be a confidence factor that people like the sounds that you're making, right? So you don't have to necessarily feel that pressure to be switching it up all the time or something. But it is an interesting like industry within all this stuff of like how somebody like you and I are trying to find our ends meet by coming up with something different as opposed to just like making tunes that we hope that people buy, right?
Yeah. And the thing with Patreon too is I made sure that there was a ridiculous amount of value behind it, so that yeah, like if you just want to come in and pay $3 and get 100 presets that you can dip, you can do that. And then if you just want to continue supporting me and picking up some extra presets along the way, I've made that clear that that's kind of how it'll go. I can't promise, how many exactly each month, but if you stick around for like, that's why I made the price so low is for $3 is that at least you're getting something without having to empty, your bank account for that month.
Yeah, and I find that's like a big challenge too, right? I mean, if you look at it, generally speaking, most of the people that are supporting my channel, your channel, people's channels in general, like they're not people that are just rolling in dough. Actually, a lot of them are like students, or young kids that like don't really have a huge budget. So it is really challenging, but also kind of rewarding to find these different products and stuff for people that is going to find value to them for one, but also like not make them feel or not make us feel, hey, if you're the first thousandth person to buy this, we're going to send you a dongle along with our $40,000 production sample pack or something. Not saying any names,
A
but
gold dongle.
right. A gold dongle. Anyways, you know what I mean though. So, and but I think that's more rewarding too, you know, like making these things that are community based as well. Like, you know, you have your style of how you make music and me as well. But these are things that you know that I like if I were to download from you, I would know that they came from you. I would know who exactly is doing this stuff. And same for me, like it's an Alchemy sound or it's a Hakobo sound. And that's authentic in some ways.
Yeah, man, I've been selling your presets on my page. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
all right. I'll have you know that my grandma's an attorney, so
Perfect.
we just have to figure
I
out.
would love to meet your grandma.
I'm just gonna figure out who I have to send to go serve you.
Please send your grandma.
She's scary.
Is she nice? She's
sh-
scary.
yeah, well, she can be. She's great. She's yeah. So I guess in those kinds of things, right? Like we've had a lot of conversation about like industry and stuff, but like where are you at with music these days? You know, like what's I know that you kind of answered that question with regards of like, you know, you kind of just do what inspires you or whatever, but what would you say is like a large area of production that you're trying to improve yourself?
I would say just consistency and being in the mood to write music. With everything going on, music kind of taking the back seat. And just how I feel, like I go through weird phases. Sometimes I don't want to listen to music or write it at all for months on end, and other times I do. So it's something I don't really worry about too much. If I don't write music ever again, it's something that I've come to terms with, kind of. But at the same time, I'd love to write music. I enjoy writing music sometimes, and then really see music as fun. But I don't want to become. There's a huge challenge with becoming attached to response to that music, and it's dealing with the being addicted to what is it, compliments and people liking your music and writing music based around that. I want to find kind of a good balance between in, enjoying writing my music and not worrying about what people kind of have to say about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's something I think is overlooked quite a bit of like not necessarily an aspect of just finishing music, but getting yourself into a mental state of just wanting to be in the DAW in the first place. Because like if you think about it, the amount of time that this stuff takes, like even now, you know, like I can't believe it, but we've already been in this conversation for 30 minutes. Like this stuff takes time. Um, Cats Don't Smile says like, how long have you been making music for? He answered that towards the beginning, a very long time, actually much longer than me. Long story short, but he's been playing music since he was a kid, and then recently in the past couple of years, he's gotten himself back into electronic music. Just to summarize things, it's more complicated than that. But he's been in the game for a long time, and yeah, like it's I imagine like after that much experience and stuff, like it can be difficult. There are things that I do, actually more so as a profession that I've been doing since I was pretty young too, and I do have that same cycle that you're talking about, like of like being really serious about training sometimes and then wanting to take a break and then getting really back into it and stuff. I think it makes a little bit more sense for me because like I have to give my body a break with doing flips and all that crap, but at the same time, like it can be just as draining on your mental state when you're just trying to tune out or churn out tune after tune after tune or album or whatever just for the sake of like trying to put content out.
You do flips?
You didn't know that?
Yeah. No, let's see a flip. I'm just kidding. Where can I see a flip?
Um, for real? Are you
Yeah, where can I see a
you didn't
flip?
know that I was in Circus Soleil?
Is that real?
Yeah,
You're in Cirque du Soleil?
I was.
What? That's the coolest thing I've heard.
You didn't know
What? I
that?
want to see. No. I'm glad we're having this talk. I want to see some. What, where can I see this?
Here, I'll pull up
Well, show me. Send it to me after. Send me
yeah,
when we're
yeah,
done.
I'll do it.
I want to see this.
I'll do it after stream. But yeah, I have some stuff on
I didn't even take a drink. I just picked it. I just...
you're doing the electronic DJ with drinking.
pretending to drink.
Yeah. But yeah, long story short, so my job, my profession before this was a few things. For one, I was or am still considered to be a martial arts instructor. I've taught tumbling, gymnastics, and acrobatic movement for about 15 years. And then for the last 5 years of my life, I was in Cirque du Soleil. I did a show for Dolly Parton, and then I was also part of Marvel Universe Live, which is kind of like a live stunt show that travels or whatever. Um, but then I got hurt, and so I was living in Vegas, and then I moved back here, and then the pandemic happened, and then like getting healthy and stuff was just kind of like so.
Where you
So
living now?
now I'm in a place that I don't want to mention because it's embarrassing, but yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, I'm in the Midwest
Okay.
now. I'm at
Vanilla. Okay.
Vanilla. No,
Vanilla.
okay, so I live in Oklahoma, so my grandma's out here. She got diagnosed with breast cancer last year, and so it was kind of like one of those things where I feel like it was just meant to be, right? I was meant to be here, and she is doing really well. She actually beat cancer, and I'm really like just happy that she overcame something like that. But for a while, like it was a crazy time. Well, the past 2 years have been nothing short of crazy, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. So now, as the YouTube channel is growing, I think the goal is to try to get the YouTube channel to a particular place to where I can move anywhere and still have like a means of consistent income. And hopefully, as time goes on, get back into shows. Cirque du Soleil went out of business, so I don't know what's going on with any of the shows right now. I do think that they're reforming pretty soon, maybe like within the next 6 months or so. So it's been like content, music, get healthy, figure out a plan, get back out to the West, or figure some other kind of performance aspect out. Jason says having to
Wow. Okay.
churn out content, that's why this is just an expensive hobby for me. It is a really expensive hobby, but it is very rewarding. You know, like I can't imagine life without music, to be honest. Like, where do you think that you would be without music?
Who, me?
Sorry, I did a lot of
Uh,
talking.
no. I just meant like. Sorry, I just wasn't sure if you actually asked me or chat. Yeah, I'm in the podcast. That's right. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Um, uh, I don't know. That's a good question. I can't really. I'm not a big what if guy, so I can't really answer that. I guess
yeah.
probably let more. Probably a lot more boring. I don't know.
I guess like okay, if I were to rephrase the question, like are there any other kind of hobbies or anything that you would want to maybe try out that like you never got into but always wanted to do?
I'm doing that now. I literally just got into Warhammer and painting. I'm doing just that's kind of it. I mean, painting figures is kind of the easiest form of drawing in my opinion because you just gotta fill in the lines. I mean, it definitely has like the skill curve. Like, there's a big difference between me and like, award-winning painters, but it's been something I've been doing. My girlfriend's been into it. She's been painting Warhammer with me, and we've just been enjoying it.
That's pretty neat. So like if you don't mind me asking, like when you say like you're painting Warhammer, are you painting figures or painting pictures or
Yeah, many figures. It's Warhammer 40K, the tabletop game.
yeah, dude, that's freaking sick. I honestly, man, like I don't know if you ever thought of this before, but I think it would be really cool for you to do a painting stream and just like play your music over that. So like it doesn't have to be for a really long time, but just do it for an hour to where you're like, yo, I'm gonna paint for an hour. Here's the camera setup or whatever, and you can have a mic on or not, and just let your playlist go. Or you can do like a time lapse of something with your music or whatever and kind of upload that as supplemental content to your channel. So that way, maybe, sorry, like I'm not trying to give you ideas and tell you what to do, but I just think I really like that stuff. And I was talking to my other friend about doing something similar. Um, but I don't know. I would watch it. I think that would be really, really cool.
Hmm. That's interesting. I guess I would want to figure out if that's something my audience would want because
It's
I
not
want to
about
do
them.
something that's
It's about what you
interesting.
want.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to expand my. I've always think about that, like expanding my content to other, like maybe video game, not like gaming, but like talking about things in the video game industry or doing stuff like that. But it's. I don't feel like I'm at a place where I can expand my niche too much. I'm waiting. I'm still building an audience around a single niche that like people know what to expect from me
Yeah.
more so than. But it's something I think about. Maybe like sometimes I want to make like another channel for my hobby, like Hakobo's, like, I don't know what I would call it. Hakobo Hobby Center. I don't know what I'd call it, but
Hakobo Ross.
yeah. Yeah, Hakobo Ross, perfect.
No, I'm kidding, but at the same time, like I don't know, and that could be, something where like our philosophies might be a little bit different or so, but I've kind of come into the place now where like people know you specifically as like somebody who makes tutorials and stuff, but you are also a musician, you're also an artist, you're also, a person, a human being. And I think
A
that
gangster.
I don't want to say that. Rather, you said it, not me. No, I'm kidding. But at the same time, like,
Gangster's cool.
you know, like people want to know like you and who you are as a person and like what you're doing and stuff. And those are just other things that you can supplement content. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. If anything, like I've been on my Discord, I've been asking people all the time. I'm like, hey, what else can I do that's a little bit different or that's kind of fresh or whatever? Because, um,
And they're like back to the closet with you. Go
right,
go make some faceplant tutorials.
Bobby, get back in the garage. Unsurprisingly, my serum tutorials do much better than faceplant tutorials, but I personally enjoy faceplant a lot more. Which brings up the other point, right? Of like, one really important thing that I tell people with YouTube tutorials is that while you are doing a service to the community, I'm not gonna say it about me. I'm just gonna say it about you. You are doing a service to the community, but the other thing that you're doing is you're documenting information of your knowledge base. And that's something that will hopefully be satisfying to you whenever you look back at your archive of all of your videos and stuff that you make. But you're building so much more than just information. You're building yourself as a brand. You're building yourself as an artist. You're building yourself as Hakobo or or of Jacob or whatever it is that you want that to represent. So I don't know. I'm always the kind of person that's like, do it, try it because it might end up taking off. You might end up bringing in a whole different side of people that you didn't even know were possible. The other thing that I wanted to say
Oh,
is
go ahead.
I don't know if you know who it is, but I think his name is Alpha Gamer 1 or like Harris Harrison or something. He was like, honestly, man, like music is one of the worst topics on YouTube to get into the algorithm.
Yeah,
And
I didn't know that.
it is. It's one of the worst things. I think it's because it's the number one thing that has copyright strikes and stuff. But for this person
Mm,
that's like a monster Twitch streamer, YouTube content creator, XYZ, he's like, yeah, man, like music, like almost don't even bother. Like go look at something from Inspected and look at how many views something from Copycat has, right? Because we both know Copycat. It's criminal. It's like a few thousand views. But then you go
yeah.
and look at something like that on SoundCloud and it's like astronomically bigger. And
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
that's just because YouTube is, YouTube is not, it's the place for information. It's not the place to share your music.
I agree. It's interesting to see what takes off in terms of music and what doesn't, because there are some beat channels that do really really well for whatever reason.
That's true. Like lo-fi beats to study to, right?
Yeah. So I feel like it's just kind of what appeals to the masses more so than any sort of niche genre like halftime. Because lo-fi, for whatever reason, I feel like everyone listens to lo-fi. Even people that really don't even my friends that don't listen to EDM, they'll be like, oh yeah, I listen to lo-fi when I do homework or something like that. You know what
Right.
I mean? It's more generally appealing.
I mean, but you have to like the one thing to consider though is like that's just one channel, right? So how many lo-fi, like for
Yeah,
one,
exactly.
how many lo-fi artists are on YouTube, and two, how many lo-fi beats to study to streams are there? And if you look at the comparison between those things, like they all do like by our standards exceptionally well, but usually it's just Chilled Cow or whatever one is like the biggest one, and then the other ones have a huge difference in viewership and all that other stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's an interesting market to try to learn about these days and whatnot. But for me personally, I'm like the more stuff that I can kind of throw up onto the channel and the more variety that I can bring that still ties into a larger theme, I think the more satisfying it is for me personally. So that's always why I'm an advocate of like do all the things. Why not? You like people are gonna see it. Do all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. My plan right now is to just kind of stick more to audio production, just because I see, because you're right about music, like putting up your own music. My least watched video is a mix that I did, for instance. So it's kind of hard for me to want to stem out when I see that there are other channels like In the Mixed. I think it's In the Mix does really really well. Uh, there's always that tempting feeling to make meme videos, or videos that are like almost like composerly or eliminates, where they don't actually teach you anything
You need a
technical.
melody? I got you.
Not yeah, but it's just like, it's just more about, they just sit down with a camera on them, they bust out a sound over like 5 minutes of video, and then they play it, and it's just more for mindless entertainment than it is to actually teach you something. It's not. It's music production designed for anyone to enjoy watching it, more so than it is to actually teach you how to be a better musician. There's so many channels like that. There's some that are better than others. Like I know there's Mayflower. He almost has 100,000 followers, and um, some of his content's pretty cool. Like I enjoy his content, but I wouldn't recommend him to someone that really, really wants to go deep and learn music theory and learn audio projection. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's just him just busting out a song in 4 or 5 minutes. It doesn't actually teach you what he's thinking behind it. It's just you see that Aces to Aces video on how to make mumble rap music that's super popular. Have you seen that
Yeah.
video? That's what I'm talking about. You're not gonna actually learn anything. It's just entertainment. So it's like, I'm very tempted to do something like that, but I don't want to provide entertainment outside of like the occasional dumb skit. I want to help people write better music.
Yeah. I hear you. And I think really it just all kind of boils down to what you're going to enjoy doing the most. I mean, by nature, I guess you could kind of say that my career path has kind of led me to be an entertainer, but it was never really about that for me. It was about doing something that I really enjoy doing and like making a living off of it. Um, that was one thing that was really important to me. Like being on stage, I would just kind of forget it that everybody is there and just try to be 100% in the moment and stuff. And TV entertainment or computer entertainment, where you're actually recording videos and all that stuff, is a completely different thing than doing something live. But at the same time, if you're having fun and you're documenting like where you are in your life right now with other things, I do think that like do the skit, right? Or you can like maybe even do something that is entertaining and then go into an overall thematic lesson or something like that. I feel like
Recording
South
to
Park does that
logbook.
really well. Where they're
Yeah,
like something horrible happens and then they're like, you know what? I learned something today. And then it gets all like serious just for a second. Yo, Data Broth, thanks so much. Shout out to Data Broth, by the way. He covered Vital earlier today. He's also part of the glitch.cool community, and you guys should know who he is, honestly. Everybody should know him. So thanks for finally subbing,
shoot,
dude.
Data Broth. I like that name. It's a cool name. But it's interesting that you bring up South Park, because South Park as entertainment is a parody that still tries to send like a message out there. It's not
Right.
just mindless entertainment. Um, it's still trying to make, and that's like the kind of content that I like to make when I do make skits. Outside of the occasional like ridiculous skit, like me talking to my rat, it's trying to make like a point of something that I think or feel about the music industry.
Yeah. And those are things that like fuck, and it's hard because like if you think about it, like as much as you might want to geek out over something really in depth and complex, like that's not going to be accessible to a huge variety of people because like you have to know so many prerequisites beforehand. So you have to find a way to bridge this information to somebody and make them
Freaking
want to watch the
freaking
whole
dumb
thing,
dumps.
right?
Yeah, and there's the whole entertainment. Like you have to keep them glued. Like editing, video editing. I want to like video editing, and I do sometimes when I'm. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I hate it. Sometimes I'm just like crap. I have to sit here for 2 hours and edit a video,
Dude, I
and then you
fucking
realize that, and then it crashes, and then you have to do it again, and then you realize that you weren't recording, and you have to do it again because you hit spacebar to try to play the sound, and it really turned off your recording software, and you didn't realize. And
I'm glad I'm not
gosh,
the only one.
some of my videos I have literally done 4 takes. My white noise video, that was the white noise bass or whatever, I did that I think 4 or 5 times, and my girlfriend called me after the third time, and I was just losing my mind. I wanted to stop.
Man, okay, so like I've ran into this so many times. Like Apple software is all integrated with each other. So like the phone will talk to the computer and the computer will talk to the phone. So like I will be in the midst of recording and then get a phone call in the midst of recording and it will go off on my computer and I'm just like, I was 30 minutes into this and now I have to start all the way over again. It drives me crazy. But at the same time, like it is worth it, right? When you finally get the video up and then you're just like, okay, it's done. Let them, if it takes off, great. If not, but with all that being said, one of the topics that we were going to cover was kind of in the means of like content creation and stuff. So I'm wondering, like, what's your advice to people that might be interested in getting into making videos and all that? Or like, is, I guess if like you were to start a new channel or something, is there anything that you would do different?
um,
Hey, Optic.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick, and then I will talk about that.
Oh, so you're gonna make me okay.
Vanilla, and I'm just kidding. I'll be right
Vanilla. And I guess
Let's not
okay.
tell anyone why we do that.
So Hakobo is gonna go use the restroom, guys, as he just said. Does anybody have any
I'll be
questions for
really
him?
quick. I'm gonna
I'm
be real
I'm
fast.
counting. Does anybody have any questions for him while he goes and takes off for a hot second? Um, yeah, and shout out to Optic. If I think that I'm gonna bring him and his buddy Jack Lion on here sometime soon as well. How old is he? He's 28, 29, 28. I think he's 28. Yeah, but I'm going to be bringing him on pretty soon. I think that like this is kind of something that I enjoy doing quite a bit and it would be something that I think would be fun for the rest of the community as well to start bringing on more artists and all that. And like the way that I used to do this beforehand was I would have like an artist come on and actually teach something. But I find like just having a more organic conversation, kind of like with what I did with Hypotech last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, sometime recent, was a lot more enjoyable and a lot more accessible. And plus, I can just pull up Discord and have this kind of pull up, and that's so much easier as opposed to having to teach something in general. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for Hakobo, now would be a good time. Dude, I got it. You're gonna, bro, I got it. You're gonna change your name to your sweatshirt, Obo.
My sweatshirt.
Yes, Hawks Obo.
Hawks oboe. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Why you? I'm so dumb. You made that joke, and I was just like, "Ha, he's just messing with my name." But no, it's because I wear this jacket.
Very appreciated this. Thank you guys.
I don't even go to this school. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
I do. No, I do.
I don't know. Maybe your girlfriend does or something. That would make sense.
No, this is I go to this school. It's yeah. I just started going this semester.
So yeah,
I like it.
when you left to the bathroom, the question was, what's your advice to people that are getting ready to get into content creation?
Don't be dumb. Okay.
What?
So I feel that content creation. Anyways, when I go on the YouTuber subreddits and all the subreddits designed for newer users, I see a lot of kind of the same thing where people aren't really sure. They almost treat content creation like rocket science, where they're like, "Why is it my content?" There's so many gaming channels. There's so many things that people go into YouTube creation and think it's just going to be something they don't have to put a lot of thought into, and they could just record their life, and people
Right.
are just going to watch it. And it's not. It's nothing like that. You have to provide value in a way that isn't already accessible to people um, at a better degree. And what I mean like that by that, I guess that's a bad way of putting it. It's all the time I'd love to make certain content like music theory. I'd love to just make like a series on basic music theory and how to start playing the piano or something like that. But there's already so much on there. There's people that are much more into that niche that have videos on it. There's Andrew Wong's video on music theory that's just covers the basic with millions of views. So it's hard to want to make content based off that. So I don't. I make something that provides value to a certain niche. You have to start really small with a very tight niche, in my opinion, and then kind of grow from that as you build an audience. And I feel like people don't realize that you have to provide a certain value and level of quality to really compete, especially if your niche is overcrowded. If you're going into gaming, good luck. Good luck. Holy crap. What do you
Yeah.
you have to be doing something that gives that's more than what the average person is going to experience gaming themselves. And that's one of the biggest problems I see in like gaming is they'll just make content that's based on them playing, but there's nothing more like there's nothing unless you have the best personality ever. You're not providing anything that I'm not going to experience just playing the game myself.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And Jason brings up a really good point that I was actually going to mention in the midst of that. He says, to me, it almost seems like the delivery style of content would play a potentially significant factor as well. So to expand on that, like this really resonates with me because for me, as being somebody that teaches, a wide variety of skills and stuff, it's like you could easily go to my teacher and why would you not learn from him, right? Why would you come to me? But the thing is that even between you and I, like we could both make the same video over the same exact topic, but people are naturally going to be gravitated towards you because they speak your language or you speak their language in a way that is easier for them to understand. You know what I mean? Just because like
Yeah,
the interpretation that you have over that information in its own right does make it unique. Unless if like you're
that's a good
just
point.
outright plagiarizing somebody and you're like literally just saying, okay, well, let me see what alchemy does, and then I'm gonna do that. Not that I'm,
Oh crap.
not that I'm,
Uh,
no, no, that's not that I'm saying that's
I've
what
been caught.
happens, but just as a funny comparison, by all means, right? So that's not a call out, but that's what I was talking about. Is like people come to you for you. There's a ton of neurobase tutorials out there. There's so
That's
many.
true.
There's so many different things, but there has to be something beyond the information itself that makes it unique, because even if you are covering a totally unique topic, which I think I've made a few videos. I know that you've made a few videos and felt the same way, of where you made something, you're like, dude, this has so much potential, this could be amazing, and nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. Like,
Oh,
you know what I
let
mean?
me,
And it's just like those things, nobody gets those things, but at the
dude. My
same.
best video, I just wung together, and I'm just like, this is okay. And then it's like my third video that I made, and it's my biggest video, and I'm just like, why? It's a rhythm one. That's why.
I mean, still
Oh,
though, right? Like, I
oh.
mean, okay, so one thing that I've noticed about your tutorials is something that I give a lot of people advice on. Um, you take out a lot of the ums. You have like you consolidate your information
Mhm.
to make it as streamlined as possible, and like that adds value to a lot of these things. Like, how many tutorials do you watch? Like, and this is a great opportunity to bring up some of those memes, right? Of like, list your best meme for the worst like production tutorials ever. Um, 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 so,
Yeah, I
I,
cut out a lot of ums.
yeah, or like the nasty mouth sounds that people do.
I
Um,
cut those
the
out.
the people that
Yes.
like spend the entire time just promoting themselves, they're like, just buy my EP and I'm gonna show you this sound. It's on my EP, and I'm not gonna show you how to make it, but I did this and I'm so fucking cool. And
Or
it's like,
using wavetables from their paid packs. I won't name who does that, but ugh, ugh. You can't use their serum. You can't learn anything from their serum tutorials because they just use things from their paid packs. That's it.
or like their tutorials are something that's super simple, like just a filter, and then they have their paid pack, you know,
Mm.
and it's like, oh my gosh.
It's funny because you mentioned eliminate and rocket powered sound, and I didn't know exactly what you're talking about. And then I went on, I think it was Instagram, right after I was done streaming, and I scrolled down and I saw the ad for Eliminate doing rocket powered sound, and I'm like, oh, this is what he's talking about. I didn't actually have much of a problem with it because it's exactly what I just did with Odd Profit, but
Yeah, I don't remember.
it was just so funny.
I don't remember what that topic was about, and I think the consensus was like, big ups to Eliminate for for doing something like that, or for actually rocket powered sounds, um getting Eliminate to do that, rather, right? um
Money.
yeah, but even still, that is part of this business, that is part of
Uh,
this industry to some
yeah,
degree.
No, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with it. It was just him promoting Rocket Powered's preset pack and making a song out of it. It was literally exactly like what I did with Odd Profit. Odd Profit approached me, offered me some money to promote his presets, and I did. I liked well the thing that the biggest thing though is that I liked them, and I think that that's a big point of accepting or denying sponsorships is that you're offering something to your audience that you think is actually worth investing in.
Right. Yeah, as opposed to, hey, anybody offer me a sponsorship and I'll just do it. Whatever you
I
got.
think I forget what they're called. It's Black Lotus Audio, I think, offered me to sell their presets, and I said no because I thought they had some good presets in their packs, but I'd say 80% of them just weren't worth it, and I wasn't going to tell people to buy them.
That's
Sorry,
pretty
Black Lotus.
that's pretty interesting. I don't think I've ever had anybody approach me asking me to sell them something for them. Like the affiliations and things that I have, like I actually had to go out and apply for those myself because I believed in those products. I was like,
Gotcha.
hey,
Yeah, I blessed. That's all I can say about it. I've just been blessed to just those are the only two people that have approached me.
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean that as a comparison, but I just think that the idea of somebody trying to get you to sell their stuff when you're a tutorial maker is an interesting, I don't know. Kaiju says the 1 million cuts guys. I don't know. Is there something wrong with that of like having just a bunch of different like cuts in between, or like what is the extremity of that, I wonder. Actually, Kaiju, if you want, like go find a tutorial on Discord and I'll watch it later and be like, "Oh, that's what you're talking about." Um
Who is
but
he referring to? Who are you
we
referring
were
to? What
talking
cut?
about like
Eliminating?
serum tutorial memes of just like
Oh,
what not to
gotcha.
do, right? Yeah, it's man, I don't know. I find like myself like when people get really into their ego on videos, I don't care how cool the sound is. I get really quick to like just click off of the video just because I'm like I don't want to sit here and like listen to you express yourself through your ego to try to figure out what information you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, dude, I got this sick sound. You know, you should just watch it. And then, oh, yeah, it's gonna be on my new EP. Why don't you go buy it? And that's like, dude. And then it sounds like, uh, anyways,
I just want to. I want to name drop. There's been like 3 or 4 times where I'm just like, I really want to name drop, but I just want to be respectful at the same time.
it's
Because
not worth it. You know, it's not worth it.
it's not.
And you know what I mean? Those are things that like those are pet peeves that I have, but at the end of the day, it's not about us and it's not really about you and I. A lot of times it's about what works, you know? Like for example, like for me personally, I stopped, well actually I only did maybe one or two videos regarding how to do like another artist or something. I feel that unless if you get really close to that sound, I don't do it myself personally, but there are some people I've seen you do it. You know, there are some other people that do like how to sound like this person that it works really well. But for the most part, you get like, all right, man, we're gonna make a Koa sound bass, and it just sounds like chalk on like, or sorry, nails on a chalkboard or something, right? And it's like that doesn't sound anything like what you had described. It's just total complete clickbait, and yet it's got like 50,000 views. And for some reason, in the comment section, you have some young kid being like, dude, this is the best tutorial ever. Like, you were such a genius. I can't, like, how did I subbed, you know? And it's like, what?
I might be a little guilty of that. The idea, well, it's like half and half. I put artist names in the titles. One because it does get more people to search. Like people do search certain artists, but I'm more like it's not an exact sound that they create. More so influenced by the genre that they're in. It's more like it's similar to like one of their sounds in terms of style. There
And
have been a
that's,
couple recreations
yeah, and that's totally
like the
fine.
Travis Scott bass, and that was just more of a challenge to me. Like the Travis Scott bass was more of a challenge to myself than anything, and it's just like people will probably search this. I'll do it. This is content. It was earlier in my YouTube channel. Uh, I don't have a problem with it personally, as
I
long
think,
as it's not clickbait.
yeah, I like it kind of like what you said. It's totally fine if you have the right attitude behind it. Like I even considered doing like alchemy bites and then being like, okay, guys, we're gonna do, you know, this kind of person base, and then we'll figure it out at the end of this video if this is gonna work or not, right? But when somebody outright says, hey guys, I'm gonna teach you how to sound like Noisia, and it sounds like, you know, a fucking whoopee cushion, it's like, what are you doing? You know, I mean, you know, more power to them, because who am I to tell, who am I to say who should be making content or not? At the same time, for somebody that really actually cares about putting out quality, I'm like, it's something that I wouldn't do personally, and it's something that I particularly try to learn from, even though that could be potentially hurtful to growing the channel in that way. And like, I find that there's this balance of like not being a total douchebag on the internet and trying to figure out how to grow your channel in like an honest way. Because I guarantee if you were to be like how to sound like this person, how to sound like this person, how to sound like this person with your following now, you it would just it would work.
We should just start calling people at 3 a.m.
Like who?
Like Skrillex at 3 a.m.
Oh man, no. I'm okay. I really do try to keep to myself as much as possible regarding those things. It's not so good for networking.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the channels that call like fake characters at 3 a.m. and they get millions of views. What are you doing? Why are we creating content when we can just spin fidget spinners on our fingers and make millions of dollars? We're wasting our time, Alchemy.
I mean, if it looks cool, you know, that's the thing. Like I don't know. Do you have a TikTok?
No.
Neither do I. Um, Even Instagram, you know, like I have like such a large library of history from like doing flips and stuff on my Instagram, but other than that, like I do not enjoy using that thing, because it's just another way that people are trying to exploit to get famous, and it all kind of begs the larger question about like what the hell are we doing here, you know? Like what is the purpose of this whole thing?
To get lots of money. That's why I make content.
You could just rob a bank,
Yeah, that's true.
whichever one is
All right.
easier, right?
Next topic. Let's move on.
Vanilla.
Let's go.
All right, so
Vanilla. Let's go.
um
Vanilla.
so tell me, Hakobo, what do you love about Bitwig?
Vanilla, dude.
Come on.
Um,
No, I'm kidding. You don't have to answer that.
really nice feet.
What? No, I'm kidding.
Change. Vanilla.
So yeah, I mean, I think that hot takes are good, you know, and I think that having like an honest opinion about some of these things are good. And um, at the end of the day, you and I have to say, like, for one, I guess I'll speak for myself. Like these people that are doing these things that are meme worthy, obviously they're being successful on it, and it's something that we have to give them respect for. But as far as like creating an honest, like, I think a stronger interpersonal community to where like we actually have these people talking to us and interactions and stuff, I don't find that those things are kind of helpful to that kind of community, or healthy, right?
It's about productivity. How is it productive to yourself or is it productive to the community?
Yeah, or productive to your wallet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and for me, like, I don't know, I think one of the coolest opportunities that I found through like having a YouTube channel is doing things like this in particular. Also like having, opening the door for exchanging information, because I don't know about you, but having the ability of having like people to talk to and just putting the information out there and not having to claim to be right or wrong. I'm just saying, here's my thought on something. Feel free to tell me what you think. And then a bunch of people are like, oh, that's a good idea, but this idea, but this idea, but this idea. It's kind of like when I come into your stream and I'm like, hey, what about this? Or what about this? And sometimes you're like, that's a great idea. And sometimes you're like, I don't like that idea. But having that is a huge luxury and a huge benefit to kind of exchange between people on these things, you know?
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, personally, I like when people come in and like offer ideas, because like if I don't like the idea, I just won't say anything or do it. But sometimes I come up with an idea and I try it and it works out and it's like cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That now it's my idea.
Right. I wrote this song.
Thanks, thank you.
100% of it. it's it is one of those things, and it's opening the door for exchange of information. Like I feel so lucky to have talked to some of those people that we look up to in one way or another. Like okay, whatever. Like how do I say? Like okay, talking about music is one thing, but just having a chance to like pick their brains on something or just ask them even just such a specific question, I feel like that would be virtually impossible to do 20 years ago, where you don't have access to any of these people and like all of these production things are a complete secret. And I think that is not healthy. It's really not healthy towards um moving music forward.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of the biggest. If I had a selling point for my channel, I would say it's transparency.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
I appreciate that.
yeah, I don't see the point. And sometimes there have been a couple times where I come up with a really cool sound, and I'm just like, do I want to share this? But I've always come around to like, yes, yes, I do, because I know that if I didn't know how to make this, I would love for someone to teach me. You know what I mean? Treat others how you want to be treated, kind of deal. Where I want to be that segue into better music production that everyone else refuses to be.
You just make the video so overly complicated that only people that really know what they're doing are going to get it, and the people that have no
Exactly.
clue are like just going to go over and skim it or dislike the video. um
Good.
Encrypt your information, long story short. No, I'm kidding. I hear you on certain things. But there's also like I find that as opposed to like making something and then just being like here's this, one particular strategy that I've kind of geared towards is instead of just making the whole tutorial of like really looking at what some of the essences of these specific things are and breaking those concepts down and then saying find your own possibilities. Because like I don't know about you, but one thing that I really am trying to get people to steer away from is doing the copy pasta preset videos of do this, do this, do this, here's the sound.
But that's my whole channel.
I don't think so. No, I don't agree. I really don't think so. I do
I'd
think
say
that
to a degree, like it's there's like an element of it. Like I show a preset and people are loving it, but I promote people to experiment and to use it to take it to different. I want people to make better sounds than I'm making using the information I give them.
right. But what I mean is like, okay, so like the difference between what you're doing and what someone else is doing is, okay, I'm doing this for X reason. I'm doing this for X reason. Insert comment, right? As opposed to just here are the steps, right? There are these little openers with thoughts, and while those thoughts might be concise, it still elaborates on the why as opposed to the how. And that is what I ultimately believe is going to be more valuable. Because like
I agree.
if it's just, like I said, if it's just, fucking pause the video and copy the preset, you're not teaching anybody anything. You might as well just give them the
Wait,
preset, which a lot of
yeah, I
people
was about to
do,
say.
right? But
Yeah, it's interesting.
having a concept of being like, okay guys, so here's our focus of today. And sometimes like that's also hurtful to yourself as a channel as well, because how do you coin or how do you create a vocabulary for some of these things that we're doing, right? Like how do you contextualize like certain, I guess, base archetypes, right? Nobody knows, well some people know, but about this much, right, of like what a neurobase even is. How are a million people going to see that when they have no idea what that sounds like? And that's where those things come in of eluding these kind of noises to the artists and stuff. So I don't know, I try to find like a healthy balance between all that stuff, but it's an interesting thought in any case.
It's interesting. Yeah, I guess the thing is I it depends on your target audience. Which if you're trying to appeal to beginners, you have to take certain steps to make sure that you're explaining things in a fundamental way while also accomplishing teaching the more advanced people something new. I try to worry less about that. I try to just make content that I want to share with people, and if people understand it, great. If they don't, then I'm probably not the channel for them. I don't want to have to like sacrifice the content that I want to make to appeal to a larger audience.
I guess like, I mean, in a perfect world, like I agree with that, and I do think that's that at its truest form. But at the same time, like you and I both make this agreement, like this internal contract with ourselves to promote this information in general, right? So to some degree, like naturally, if we're putting information out there, like, and we leave it as public, we do to some degree want it to reach as many people as possible. Now, I'm not saying that you and I want to be famous or that we want to have millions and millions of views, but if we're going to go through all the trouble of putting something together, I do think it's safe to say that we would want it to be as digestible, right?
To a degree, because there are some people that come on. It's so weird because I'll break down everything that I'm doing in my sound, and I'll still get people that come on and be like, "Hey, you didn't explain enough," and I'm just like,
Same.
people want a philosophical breakdown of why I turned the resonance up 30%. It's like, because it sounds good, you dingleberry.
I mean, yo, so at the same time, right? It's like you create like a 30-minute video and then it gets like 100 views and it's like the most
Yeah,
elaborate thing ever and people will become uninterested. And that's I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about is finding a balance between those kinds of relationships, right?
but
Um
there's those 100 people that did watch it and they did learn something. And
th-
that's the thing, is like, that's why it's like target audience is so important, is because you need to make content like, you have it's the purpose of your content, you know what I mean? And the purpose of your content, unless it's to be generally applicable, um in my opinion, shouldn't the quality of the video shouldn't suffer to become more fundamentally understood, I guess.
yeah.
Although there's nothing wrong with making like basic videos. Like, I feel like you can have both, and you can create this ramp of videos that you can send them to. For like I said, like if I were to make like music theory videos, if I start talking about secondary dominance or videos that are based on secondary dominance, I can't expect someone that's never watched a music theory video to come in and understand what the hell I'm talking about. But that's why you can have music theory videos that lead up to that, that get them to that point that you can refer them to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I was mentioning before about breaking some of those things down as opposed to trying to make an hour-long video like I used to do. Like Comprehensive Guide to Neurobase was an hour long and it was like I'm surprised anybody watched that.
I watched it before I became a channel.
I mean, thank you. To be honest, thank you for watching that, but it is so much information that could have been easily broken down into half of that now these days.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know, man. I don't really get the target audience, but in general, sorry, what I was kind of alluding to was like the main thing that I want people to do with my videos personally is I want them to watch a video and I want them to go, or sorry, I want them to ask more questions. I want them to take an idea and then be like, what else does this apply to? Or what else, how can this be something more than it is? Um, it's the difference between teaching a technique versus teaching a skill.
Yeah, sometimes I get good questions. Most of the time, it's just suggestions for sounds.
Bro, can you teach me how to do a G Jones bass?
Yeah, exactly,
Do you know how to G
bro.
Jones bass in this song? And it's
At this
like,
time, I need to know this exact. If I know how to make this sound, I will be the producer I want to be.
oh
I
man,
won't need to. I won't need anything else. I just need to know this sound.
please. I just this one sound will make me into the producer that I always wanted to be. Just this one sound. And then they get into like the idea of like there's this like hierarchy of production that I'm really excited to cover at some point of like the 5 stages of sound design of like the first instance, like I don't want to break it down too far, but the first instance is like you're just hating yourself and then like you go through all these like stages of whatever and once you actually figure it out, then it's like okay, now what do I do with it?
That's a good idea. I want you to do that video.
And then you
Do
just
that
make
video.
like shitty main sections or drops for like years to come on ends, even though you're making the sounds that you like, and then you start questioning the sounds that you're making again. And then there is a happy ending to this, I promise. But holy shit, that road is rough.
Dude, that sounds like a great skit, honestly.
Man, it is something that I don't know. It's such an interesting journey of like being a sound designer and then also like producer, right? And I definitely think that you and I can share a lot of those same experiences and all that because like for you, I would say too, like you had to get to a certain point to where you felt confident in your sound design to start making tutorials, right? Like I don't think that you would put out something that you thought didn't sound good. Um,
It
or-
was kind of a sound by sound basis. It wasn't so much my sound design in general. It was like, oh, I made this and it sounds good enough. You know what I mean? There's tons of times where I'll just sit down and try to make a sound over 3 hours, and it's all garbage.
I
And
guess
I'm just like,
that,
all right.
yeah, I mean that still happens to all of us. But that does beg another question. Like, I guess as far as like whenever you make something that you are happy with, like, do you have a hard time connecting your imagination to it, or is it pretty easy for you to apply in a track?
It's everything's always hard to apply to a track for me. It's I'm not sure. I'm not sure where it's so hard for me to understand where ideas come from exactly because sometimes they just pop out of nowhere and everything makes sense and everything's good. And then other times I'll try to write, I'll sit down with the intention to write a song and it's just garbage for 2 hours. And I have to go through this whole mentality of telling myself, like, that doesn't mean I can't write music. You know what I mean? You just start to self doubt and then you have
Right.
to, like, remind yourself, like, no, it's fine. You're just trash right now. It doesn't mean you'll be trash tomorrow.
Right, it's just a funk, right? So I guess like
Yeah.
if you were going to make like a typical track or something, like do you have a particular workflow of like where you start or what your mindset is, or do you just like directly jump into your inspiration and try to like uh start reflecting on what's inspiring you?
It usually comes from an idea. Like I'll get like an idea in my head and I'll try to go for it. Sometimes it turns out to something different. Sometimes with chill songs, it's usually I just sit down at the piano and try to write some chords that I like or find a progression that I like, and that usually will come to be something. But I can't say there's any right way I go about making music. It's always kind of something random. Sometimes I'll make a beat and it just sound really nice, and then I'll build a song off of that. But it's one way or the other.
What about pre-made content?
Oh, all right. Can I preface this?
Yeah,
Can I?
Hakobo's
All
getting
right,
ready to
guys.
go on a rant. I'm gonna let him have the floor.
Guys, okay. So the thing is that it's something that I've talked about on my stream a couple times, but all of this kind of started when I saw, probably even before that, but the Unison chat, the Unison MIDI wizard that writes your melodies and chord progressions for you. Now, here's the thing. I have songs that use sounds and like splice samples and are based around that, and that's fine. And using something like the MIDI wizard is fine. My question to people is it okay to become comfortable with that to an extent that you just don't challenge yourself to become a better musician anymore? When do we draw the line where using presets and samples and, like, which is fine. I use samples, I use presets, use them creatively. When does it become a problem to the point that our music is losing um, our own touch of it, our own, uh, I guess, magic touch, to the point that everything kind of just sounds the same and is using the same sample base and using the same top 10 preset packs on Splice, to where everything just loses that magic. And I guess what I'm saying is, like, I think about artists like Hertz Lloyd, where he writes his own grooves, he knows music theory, and you can tell his music stands out to me. And it's hard for me to say the same for 80% of beat makers out there right now. So I want to get Alckemy. Alckemy, what is your opinion on this? What do you think?
I unfortunately I'm gonna have to answer your question with the question. Um, does is a musician the same thing as a producer to you?
Um, I guess it comes down to intention. If you're just trying to make beat, yeah, and that's the other thing I was gonna say is this pre-made stuff. It kind of depends on what your intention is with music. If you're just trying to make beats or whatever without like writing music, and you just don't care about music, you just want to make beats to make money, then sure, I guess this kind of stuff is for you. So in that way, I would say no. But at the same time, you're creating music, and if your intention isn't to write the best music that you can, why wouldn't you want to use like tools or learn things to make you a better musician? I don't like the idea of people writing music and abandoning the idea of being a musician, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, unfortunately though, like it just brings up so many other like hot topics though, because like you look at sampling other people's music that was already finished, right? So back in the day, like let's say like when hip hop was first started and people were actually sampling finished songs, and they would take those things and create a completely new vibe out of that that ends up making that song more famous than the original, right? Now, is that person a musician, or is that person like, is their soul into that, or is it just kind of like flat out stealing, right? Jason says,
Yeah.
at the risk of being that guy in chat, I found that a majority of my tracks come as a result of sound design sessions and the riffs I use while building them. So it sounds like you're pretty much like set on having original content. Um, for me personally, like I've had success in doing sampling for lo-fi. I've had success in taking a complete track of somebody else's and totally redoing it into something beyond recognition, into an IDM track. And then these days, like I've kind of gotten into the generator thing to where everything is original, right? But
Hmm.
what does it mean to be a musician, and what does that soul mean? Because on one end, like the fact of the matter is that it's solving one very difficult aspect of music production in general, which is figuring out chords, melodies, and harmonies, and taking all of that knowledge field and making that trivial. So,
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. I guess it just comes down to whether people are being lazy or not. Because one of my favorite artists is Mr. Carmack, and some of his songs are just straight up like he has a song called "I Always Love This One," and the melody in that song is literally just a melody from an Exhibit song, but he turned it into this almost medieval sounding beat that like just kind of, you can tell that he just put a lot of work into it, making it his own.
mhm.
So I guess it just comes down to the amount of energy and time and soul that you put into your songs instead of just trying to do something the quickest way possible.
Yeah, that's it depends for me because like
It's not it's a gray area. It's not a black and white issue
yeah,
either, in my
yeah,
opinion.
for sure. And I think like the only reason why I'm voicing my opinion is just for a matter of perspective and not necessarily saying that I need to be right. So, that's
Go for
just
it, yeah.
um but in that particular case, right, it was something that I was talking about with technology in one of your streams when this first came up, but if you think about it, like technology is designed to solve problems that were initially a big deal. For example, back in the day when you had to ride horses, like traveling 50 miles was a huge task. But as time overcomes, we've found ourselves in really fast cars to where we can get to that, destination in a fraction of the time. Now, does that, as travelers, does that make us lazy? Or is that something that trivialized something so now we can go new distances or we can figure out longer distances, and that means and have those larger issues to solve?
I'd say is that like the thing is like it's one thing to be efficient, but can you apply that same concept to creativity, um, and I guess your enjoyment of it, and it's I think it's subjective. Like for instance, like what if people just straight up didn't paint anymore, and it was always just like pre-made assets that you put together? Would that change the way that we look at painting?
I don't think so, to be honest, because there's always going to be an appreciation for an art that's already been established, right? Like
It's
hard,
about what you do with it, right? It's about like how much work you put into it and the magic that you put into it. And I
so,
feel like that's
sort
kind of what
of.
I'm getting at.
I think that like I don't think that it's like one thing or the other, right? Because it's, for one, it's about how you feel about it, but it's also about how your audience feels about it. You know what I mean? Like
That's true.
on one end you might be like, I hate this freaking song, and then you play for somebody and they're like, bro, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. That's never happened to me. Hopefully it happens to you, but that does exist somewhere in some world or not. But the other thing too is like, let's say like you're a producer and you get really hung up on things that are melodic, and you find something like this to where you are making melodies, and then it enhances, or it allows you to build up your other strengths of all the other things that you're good at. I'm actually a prime example of that. I hardly know any music theory, to be honest, like hardly any. And
I guess. Okay, sorry. Go on.
and for me personally, like while I understand, like scales and stuff like that, I actually draw upon a lot of like generator things for me, or AI in some ways, to help me get an idea, and then I expand on those ideas and create, or like instead like kind of flesh out the things that I'm good with. And it allows me to kind of like level out some of the weaknesses that I have per se, right? But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I don't have a problem. And the thing is, I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that like there's many ways to be creative. I just don't want to see avenues that stop people from challenging themselves to learn common ground in terms of like music theory or like if you don't want to do that and that's just something you're not interested in when writing music, that's fine. It's just I just don't want people to like get comfortable to a point that they just don't feel the need to push themselves as artists and like write music theory off as something that like will just never benefit their music or something like that or like any
yeah,
kind of theory.
yeah, no,
That's my issue. Some
and I
more
totally
so is I
agree.
just want people to grow as musicians. Like I don't want music theory to ever become a dying art, for instance.
I
So
don't
it's
think
just
that it
like
ever will, to be honest. And
yeah, I don't either. But I just want like I feel like it's going to become easier to ignore it as as technology kind of advances, and that's just like because I love hearing like a good jazz rhythm. You know, like I love hearing something that just like pushes what music theory can represent, and whether or not you need to know music theory or not is I think is can be debatable. But I'd be very impressed if someone just didn't know a lick of music theory and was able to write like a complicated jazz riff that like makes sense and that just kind of stands up to people that do know music theory, for instance.
you've activated my trap card.
Oh no.
And that comes down to perhaps the most important thing is taste.
Yeah, it's taste.
Taste
That's true.
and the ability to recognize nuance within music. Um right now,
So it's personal for me. Sure, absolutely.
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like I think that we are so far away from somebody being able to tell if like if maybe not, but I guess like what the masses are doing, because technology is absolutely insane these days, but the general public is so far away from pushing a button and having an AI create a sound and then claiming that we made it, as opposed to us not wanting to have a natural tendency to want to change it and make it our own for the sake of artistry. And for now, at least to my knowledge, I can almost always tell when somebody makes some BS melody or some BS like triad chord progression or something, even if it is generated from you need a melody, I got you. Um, of something along that nature, because they still don't understand the other aspects of it, right? Of humanizing these sounds, of creating natural rhythm, of creating like, you know, natural offsets between these things. And you can't like you have to be a person for that. You have to have some kind of taste in order to flesh those things out.
Yeah, I agree. I can see that for sure.
I
And you're right. It is about taste.
yeah, but I mean, I'm not even disagreeing with you though, to be honest, because I do think that people do that, and I do think that um, just because of society in general, like we sometimes accept that, you know. Some people that have made some hit songs based off of terrible music. I'm not gonna say who, but you know what I mean, and they've like blown up, and you're like, really? They got famous off of that? Are you kidding me? So, you know, and the other thing too is like, all right, look at the aim and break and how much we've reused that. Like nobody here hardly
Hmm.
drums into that degree or whatever, but we all still use that as like a as a shortcut, right? To
Hmm.
making really cool music because we just like that aesthetic in some way or another.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe that's not a direct translation, but
Um, Another point I wanted to make about it is I feel like theory in general helps to make a common ground so that we can communicate better as collaborators. Like a good analogy that I heard is what like imagine you're creating food with someone and you taste their food and you're like, oh, it needs something, and you there is that object exists out there that you know what it is, but you don't know how to describe it to someone, so you're just like, it needs more punch, you know, instead of you just saying like you need to put more pepper in it. You know what I mean? I feel like theory has a very good place in helping people communicate common ground, and that's another like thing that kind of like I can't imagine a world where someone's like, oh, you just need more artificially designed melody in that's what it needs, just
yeah,
more
bro,
robots
just
doing
let's just go ahead and shop through the Unison chord pack. I know that we're hating on
you
the
just
Unison chord
you
pack, but like he did a
you
great
need
thing,
2 clicks and it's perfect.
right? So I just upload one of these presets and boom, No, but at the same time, like, but at the same time,
It
like,
needs more drip. If you ever just need feedback, it needs more drip.
right? I have to say though that like that also is very dependent on the style of music that you're making. So for somebody that is very, just put some OTT on it. I mean, ye old pop chords. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Jason. Um, but yeah, it depends on the music, you know. It depends on like the vocabulary changes based off of the style. So if you're writing something that's harmonic, then absolutely you need to know that language. If you are doing something that's purely rhythm based, you have to have another um set of vocabulary of being like, yo, like the transient on your drums aren't, you know, apparent enough, or they're too sharp or something like that. So like there's so many like dialects between what we describe as the universal music thing that kind of all fall in between that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the point I was making. I have to use the restroom again because I drank all 3 cans of what I had in front of me in a very short amount of time.
No
I
worries.
will be right back.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? What are you guys' thoughts? Do you feel like pre-made music is something that is kind of like become going to potentially become a problem in the future, or like what do you how do you feel? And regarding all that stuff, um, what's it called? I think that I find it easier to just riff around my keyboard until something pops up. So Juice, like for one, welcome, but do you have like a background on music theory in general? Or do you just by mess around, do you mean like you just try to find a melody that potentially works or so? I know a small amount, but I came from playing guitar. That's an interesting topic too, of like melodic approach to different kinds of instruments. I don't know if I talked about that on stream before or not, but like the way that you perceive um melody and harmony as a guitarist versus a pianist versus, you know, a cellist or somebody that plays the harp, right? Because I find that the way that we think about all those things are usually a lot different. Welcome back, good sir. So I was just asking chat if like what their thoughts on it were, and Juicebox was like, I know, or he finds it easier to just kind of like play around on the keyboard until he finds something in general. And I said that this brings up another good point about like one major thing that changes too in some way or another is like there is that universal language of talking in harmony, but the way that somebody approaches harmony from someone who plays guitar versus somebody who approaches melody from piano versus a cellist or a saxophone or like a completely different instrument is going to kind of vary vast in a vast way.
Yeah. I don't talk to people that play keyboards. Only harpsichord.
Who are those
Sorry,
people,
bro.
and can I get their info so I can ask them to collab?
If you don't play an old church organ, then I want nothing to do with you. It's the original. Don't use strings. Use air.
Like have you, what are those, like those pump organs where somebody like literally has to pump the thing while somebody tries to play?
Yeah, it's just an old-fashioned organ.
Yeah. um Kaiju says, I feel like AI and generators will become more present, but they won't replace us quickly. Like maybe in like 20 years or so things will be different. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I guess I'm convinced that while we come up with new things to solve problems in an easier way, there is always going to be more problems to solve, because once we get to that point where there's nothing to solve, then that means that we're getting closer to our journey's end. And I don't feel like we're anywhere near close to that, regardless of like what that stuff is, right? So, um, at the same time, I do feel I have to agree that people are definitely going to try to abuse it in some way or another. But the consequences that spawn from that are going to lead up to, like we were talking about before, a whole new set of problems, you know? The thing is, I think in the music industry is all about time, a quicker workflow to create more. But what does it mean to create more, right? Because like, is it because like we have this understanding of time, right? But we also have amount of information that happens within time, frequency specifically. We also have like rhythm. We also have space. So there's so many dimensions that you have to fill within the means of like music in general that it's not just a single thing that categorizes these things, right? Miho says, or Mihu says, I was reading that as Mewtwo. I think basics in music
Muho.
theory is a must. Like how to build chord scales, etc. Like you can still use AI or whatever you want, but at the end, all that matters is the music and emotion that resonates within us. I don't know. Like, all right, so I guess like this is such an interesting topic for me to reflect on too, because like in 2018, I had this like very melodic EP that I released. And then after that, I couldn't write anything because I kept writing the same melodies and chord progressions over and over again. And it wasn't until this April that I was like, you know what? Fuck melody, fuck harmony, fuck all that shit. I'm just going to make music that has none of these setbacks, none of these problems.
IDM.
And that's where IDM was born for me. And that's why like maybe some of my songs have one or two elements of music, but I totally dismissed that and I was like, fuck that. Like it's too this that was the root of my problem of where my beat block came from. And once I let that go, making music became so much easier because I was just like, well, okay, yeah, it's a weakness that I have and that I should eventually come back to, which is why I picked up the guitar. But you know what I mean? Like I don't worry about it so much anymore. And like sometimes your limitations can become some of your greatest assets.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's kind of all I had to say on it. That's cool though that you found like a genre of music that works out for you more so than others.
I will say, Hako, that the trade-off with that and the number one thing that I get whenever people listen to my music is they say that there's nothing to latch on to. There's no like there is no musical component, there's no emotion in it. And while I tend to disagree, it kind of caters back towards the whole thing that you were talking about before of, you know, of bringing life into this thing. So I want you to know that I
Yeah,
don't
I disagree with that too. I think your music has tons of personality that you can tell, like that you put in it. But that's just like I said, it comes down to taste.
yeah, I appreciate that. I guess I just wanted to make that point because I do think that what you had said from before definitely has validation. It's just hard because that is such a gray area, right? I don't think that there's like a right or wrong within this. It's just something that I think is more important to kind of bring to awareness as opposed to get to the bottom of. Because I don't think that you and I ever will get to the bottom of this, at least not anytime soon.
No.
Um, one thing that will do the job of the artist for a long time is to pick the parts that you use for the material that the machine gives you. Can you explain, Flux? Catstone Smile says to really reflect your passion and emotion, your mind is asked, not an AI. Oh man, that's But what about if you make the AI?
Vanilla.
Vanilla, same as it is now with sounds that are heavily randomized. Yeah, I don't think that generators are I think that that's going to be more so of a trend. I think that people are going to get really into it over the next couple of years, and then they're going to be like, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. Is this another trap card? No, no, that was just me being facetious to Hako. Um, so yeah, I think like within all these things, you know, it's really interesting to just and really cool to just sit down with you and be like, here's the open end of things and like kind of where you are. So I guess like where as another question and maybe a segue to kind of wrap things up, like where do you see music going in the future, or where would you personally like it to go?
I would like to see more genres start to mix together, and I would like to see electronic music kind of evolve into a more generally appreciated but also like generally utilized genre of music in other like I love that, for instance, like as much as I personally am not a big fan of lo-fi, I love it for what it is, which is old style jazz and other genres being made into something more modern. I love that. That's awesome to me, and I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more elements of different genres being put together and expressed in more creative ways.
Do you do you have anything specific that you would like to see happen personally, like country kawaii death step?
Holy cow, dude! Have you been reading my dream journal? No, I'm just kidding.
Possibly.
um, I'd like to see more. honestly, I'd love to see neuro start to mix more with melodic stuff. I'd like to see more. Like, there's a lot of neuro out there that's like incorporates melodic elements in it, but I'd love to see like a mix between chill music and neuro based music, almost like a big laxity copycat mix. I'd love to see stuff like that, which I think we're not far off from. I feel like there might be artists out there that do that, and I don't know about them. But I'd love to see more technical bass in melodic stuff.
So that makes me wonder, like, what do you think of Cohen Sound's Polychrome and then also
It's
Mindex?
it's so good. I love it. I love Cobalt is one of my favorite songs ever.
Is your vision of the future like different than what those guys are doing?
Uh not really, man. I think
I know,
Cohen
right?
sound not yeah. Cohen sound is just those two guys. It's two guys, right?
Hmm.
They're I think I'm pretty sure it's two guys. I might be wrong, but whoever Cohen sound um are just doing I don't know what this I don't even know how to answer that. I'm gonna be honest.
I know
I just
you
think they
don't
do a
have
good
to.
job.
It was a trap.
Yeah, vanilla.
Vanilla. Um. So, hold on. Let's take some questions really quick. If an AI outputs 10 hours of music and an artist cuts like 3 minutes of it and to make a song out of it, was it the AI who made the song or was it the artist? Okay, Flux. That whole thing that we were talking about with music, like that's what our entire conversation was just about. The answer is I don't know. Um,
Yeah, we talked for 40 minutes and we don't have an answer.
Yeah, that sounds pretty hardcore. What's the difference between selecting parts made from an AI or selecting parts made from a randomly generated mudpie? Well, nothing, to be honest, because, well, nothing other than the source itself of what those sounds are. Like that's kind of like surfing through a sample pack that you haven't heard before and then picking out parts that you like. It's just the latter is more neatly organized for you and categorized in a sound family, right? I don't know. Hako, do you have any take on that?
Nope.
Nope. Um,
Nope.
yeah, I don't think that there is any difference. Um, it's really just about what sounds those things generate. But like I said before too, like these sounds have to have been made. Um, even the generators and stuff that I made from Faceplant stuff, like I had to make those come together and make those do something. It wasn't just like new preset F and then it does something. Although there are some synths that do randomize, which is oh dude. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. So with that, yeah, have you heard of Mindex?
Mindex. No, I have not.
Okay, so I guess your homework would be to go look up Mindex. He's got a song called Twins, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are regarding that kind of thing. Because I think that with what people are doing, especially with upscale, I don't know if you know who upscale is, but that's like Hudson Lee, Frequent, Alexander, what's his name? Alex P. Let's just call him that. Um, False Noise, those guys are doing is
Okay.
really like right up your alley, and I hope that you take a dive into their world because I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised. You just
Cool.
got Sugar Bytes Drum Computer. The randomization is really good on that. I haven't seen that, but I'll go check that out later. Yeah, I do think that like I one of the things that I appreciate about neuro bass or neuro design in general is that it incorporates almost every kind of sound design that we know is possible right now, right? It combines elements of FM, of spatial effects, of dynamic effects, of all that stuff. And if you have a grasp of neuro influenced things, then essentially everything else that you're trying to create kind of becomes a lot easier because you're able to identify these sources, right?
Yeah.
So like do you have the same sentiment or do you feel differently?
No, yeah, in my opinion, it's this is what peak performance looks like. That's what I feel about neuro bass music. Is it's just a culmination of everything we know about sound design, being used creatively. Like when it comes to sound design, there's not a lot of sounds that I feel like I can't figure out how to make, and then I listen to a copycat sound or song, and I'm just like, great, great. I don't even know where to begin.
The mountain just
So
like
it's
exploded, right?
yeah. So it's it's kind of just, yeah, like you said, a culmination of all these different uh, techniques for designing bass into one and just doing it. And I like that it's very movement based. It kind of takes away the need to like, yeah, timbre is important, but a lot of it is based more on the movements you create and the rhythms that you create out of the bass, more so than um, it's shying more away from dubstep, which is just the wubs.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was gonna actually bring up like 2010 dubstep versus like even 2014 neurohop, right? Like the shift between those 4 years was like, oh my gosh, what kind of music is this, and what the heck are we listening to? That's kind of like when Cohen Sound took off. So 2014.
Did you back in the day? Did you listen to? I think it's, yeah, it was Cookie Monster. Did you listen to him?
I didn't like his music, to be honest.
Okay, I have this story of me listening to one of his songs in a van at a stoplight. I used to have a van, an Astro van, and I remember
Nice.
having his song just like cranked. And I looked to the left, and I saw these two old ladies just looking at me in utter. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Just like utter horror, like I was the spawn of Satan. Just like they were singing the Antichrist. It was one of his like really metallic, atonal dubstep songs. I just This is one of my favorite memories of listening to music as a kid.
There definitely was a time and place, right? And I think that that music in particular, um, is a huge catalyst of what we're doing today, most particularly in rhythm music, because I feel like rhythm is the most natural successor to like 2010 dubstep. It's still got the same, I guess, like uh, obnoxiousness, for lack of better vocabulary, and I don't mean that in like a dissing way, but just in the aggressiveness of like those particular sounds, right? Of having like really sharp high end and being like super screechy in that manner. Um, to be honest, I don't think that rhythm dubstep these days are really all that much different than 2010 dubstep, other than they changed their drop up more, as opposed to being like a 5 minute song of the same wub.
Yeah, and it's a little like the basses are a little bit more complicated, I guess.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I do think that they have a lot more harmonic content and stuff, but as far as like the rhythm goes, sorry, I almost said the
No,
rhythm
it's
goes.
yeah, it's very similar.
Wow, wow,
The,
wow, 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 wow,
like
wow, wow.
same kind of call and response.
Yeah, yeah,
It's always been.
exactly. And
I blame Skrillex.
you really? Because I feel like he's got some of the most like complex.
I feel like what I'm saying is like he came out with his music and it was brand new, and then everyone just started copying him.
Yeah, it's still crazy that like the only people that have like ever really even gotten close to Skrillex are, I'd say that I could mistake Feed Me for Skrillex some stuff, and also Zomboy, but that's because weren't they like super tight and connected to where they were like Zomboy was like using,
Copying each other.
yeah, like copying each other to some degree or whatever. I don't know the semantics of that, so I don't want to make up things that I don't know about, but I would say,
I do. I know the story. I do.
yeah, but I mean, I think it is safe to say that those two, their sounds are incredibly similar, right? To some degree.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but yeah, you know, but even then, you know, the kinds of call and response and stuff that they were doing at that time, to me, still was way ahead of like say something from like Bar Nine or Trolley Snatcha or, you know, some other 2010 dubstep artists. And I love Bar Nine. Don't get me wrong. I still have some of his music on my computer, but it was super duper like 5 minutes of the same drop, and then it would have a little switch up
Yeah.
and then go right back into the same drop with like nothing changed. And I'm just like, oh man, this reminds me of
That
like
was it.
the Beatles, you know, of like I want to hold your hand for 6 minutes, and it's like, ugh.
It's funny.
So yeah, I man, I had a really good time today. Is there anything else that you want to discuss? I think now also before we get into anything else, um, can you do us a favor and plug in your socials?
My socials,
Yeah,
like on
so
in the chat,
yeah,
or
well,
just
um, actually, just send those over to me. Your main stuff, www.youtube.com/Hakobo, is down in the bottom. Tell us about your Patreon content a little bit, I guess.
oh, yeah, I can do that. So on my Patreon, I wanted to one make money because I need money to eat, and two, offer something of value to people that they can get if they. So what I initially did was I offered all the sounds that I did a tutorial on. You can just get the presets and kind of, you don't have to sit there and just remake it step by step. If you want that sound or break it down, you can just take it and mess with it and experiment with it yourself. But also all the presets that I make in my music and everything that I kind of work on, you can get for, it's $3 right now. You can just go on there, spend $3, get, I think there's like almost 100 on there. That's like one, maybe it's like 99, I think, but I'm adding to it, and get all of my work. And then if you want to support me and continue to pick up the presets that I put on there month after month, I have folders on there for each month that I put presets in. That's great. But if not, I just like, I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, it's just a way for people to get the content that I make, and a way for me to also make money doing this, because I, even though I'm able to, I haven't monetized my channel because I don't want to force people to watch ads quite yet until I get a bigger community.
Until you can do more ads to a larger fan base. No, I'm kidding. But I do think that if you guys are followers of Hakobo, sorry, again, it's the Japanese. Like it sounds like your name sounds so Japanese to me. Um, I think that there's actually a bow in Dead Cells called Hakobo's bow or something like that. It might be Hako's bow or something, but it, like I said, it alludes to Japanese influence as opposed to Spanish. So I'm sorry for mispronouncing
It's
your name.
Hakudo's bow.
Did you just look it up or did you know that?
I just looked it up, but I do play Dead Cells.
Okay, fair enough. Dead Cells is a great game. Um, but
It's
yeah,
hard. It's hard as heck.
Okay, so random tangent. Like, have you finished it yet?
I've only finished 0 boss cells. I'm stuck on first boss cell.
Okay, I feel your pain, man. I'm on boss cell 3 right now, and I'm just like, I hate my life.
It's, yeah, I
It's
suck. I'm so bad at it.
it's really just like, man, it's really all just mindset. And I wish that I kind of feel like I wanted to maybe we can do that sometime in the future on a podcast, but like having mindset or talking about mindset going into like a new track or
Mindset and
something.
lifestyle. I was gonna say, oh, well, that and creativity. That was something I did want to talk about, but we can definitely save that for next time.
Yeah, I'm really surprised at how much we really covered today in
And
general.
it's been 2 hours. It doesn't feel like it's been 2 hours.
It doesn't feel like it's been 2 hours. But yeah, I don't want to keep you here forever or the chat here forever. But yeah, in any case, man, I had so much fun having you on today. And for all of you guys, if you can, go support his channel and stuff. I don't know. I think that you're a good guy, Hako, and I think that I really believe in what you're doing, and I hope that we can all kind of build each other up to get ourselves in a position to where we can continue to support each other, And also personally,
Yeah.
like, thank you so much, by the way, for supporting my cause too. Like, I did thank you on stream, but it's a lot more personal to thank you from like as close to person as it can be. So
Yeah,
thanks,
I was
Hako.
hoping other people would catch on when I did that. I was like, well, if I do it, maybe they'll get the ball rolling. But I don't. Never mind. There was a lot of people there, so it's just like,
Man, thank you. Yeah, it's always appreciated but never expected. So, so thank you. And that will reciprocate.
yeah.
So promise.
Oh,
I know,
yeah.
I know,
Like I
I
said,
know.
I don't like. Yeah. Okay. Anyways.
Trust me, if you were in my city, I would order a pizza from you. I promise I would do that. um
Please no.
but yeah, man, do you have any closing thoughts, or does anybody else have anything else that we want to kind of talk about before we head out of here?
I don't have any closing thoughts personally. I enjoyed being. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time. This is my first time doing a podcast like this, so I look forward to it. I had a good time. I'm proud of the 13 or so, 12 or 13 people that stuck through this, because it was sitting at the number pretty consistently. So you guys rock.
Yeah, and keep in mind too
Thank you
that,
to.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say,
Oh
keep in
no, go
mind
ahead.
too that more people are going to watch this because this is going to be a public video on YouTube and stuff.
Oh
So,
yeah, heck yeah.
yeah, I actually did have one more question for you. Like, can
Yeah.
we expect any releases anytime soon, or anything music related that you want to share with us?
Maybe. I see. I have so many projects. I have like I just showed my girlfriend. We sat in my car and we actually like went through all my whips, and it turned out I have like 15 of them. So it's like
For
the last time I released a song was literally a year ago. I released a 3-song EP, and I just haven't. I have so many songs to finish. It's that last 5% for me is so crippling that but because I always feel like I'm learning more, and it makes me want to produce a better song. So
Right.
it's kind of hard, but I promise that within the next few months I will have some new releases.
Well, I mean, really take your time. But I popped into your stream maybe what 2 3 days ago, and you were working on something that I couldn't stick around for, unfortunately. But I really liked what you were doing, and I guess like just since I have you on here, I just want to give you those words of encouragement of like, yo, like your music is good enough to finish, so please finish it, and then please post it and
Thank
self
you.
promo in my Discord. I believe in what you're doing, man.
Okay.
Just keep doing it, keep doing your thing, and whatever I can do to help you be successful on your journey, I definitely would want to be a part of that. Your success is my success. So,
Sweet. I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, what's your? Because you know my name. What's your real name? Who are you? Is that okay? Or do you want me to just call you Alckemy?
um, well, it depends. The military calls me Snake. My
Is it
girlfriend's name is
Alex? Is your name Alex?
my girlfriend's name is Eva. Um, no,
Is your name Steve?
my name is Ian.
Ian.
Yeah.
Ian.
You don't know who Solid Snake is? That's from
I
Metal.
know. I get the joke.
Oh, okay.
I was never a big Metal Gear Solid. I thought you were funny. I just laughed internally. I promise.
Fair enough. Yeah. My name is Ian. Or Iron Fist, depending on what my day job is. Um,
Vanilla.
Vanilla. What day job, not night job. That's something totally different. We haven't even talked about my OnlyFans. Um, look, man, we gotta eat, bro. We're
Time to go.
no. Speaking of, would you like to be a part of my only? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, Hako, thanks so much for joining me today, man. I had a great time, and I hope I didn't talk your ear off on a lot of different things.
No, it was good. I enjoyed it. I'm not. I don't like talking too much, so it worked out.
What I really mean to say is, I wish that you would have shut up about 10 minutes ago, but no, I'm totally kidding. But yeah, man, thanks so much. I hope that we can do this again soon, whenever you're ready, and we can maybe prepare some more focused topics and stuff. But I kind of want to do this more. Saturday, it's not completely set in stone yet, but I'm gonna have Optic and Jack Lion on, so we'll be pretty much doing the same thing that you and I just did and stuff too. But
Sweet.
I just want to start bringing people on here and just being like, hey, what's up? What's going on? What are you doing in the music world? I don't care how good you are or whatever, because you're still a person. So
Yeah, I'll drop in.
yeah, cool. Say
I'll be
hello.
working that night though, so it depends on what time you guys are doing it.
What is your, sorry, this will be the last thing, but what is your stream schedule?
Non-existent.
You're telling me. Is there,
It's whenever I feel like it.
do you have any like one day or something per usual that you usually go live?
Maybe, but no, not that I mentally think of. No.
I guess you'll just have to
If
tune in.
anytime it's gonna be Saturday mornings, like the afternoons.
Okay. Yeah, same dude.
But
I did really appreciate that you were trying to be mindful about like when I go live and stuff, but to be honest, like I'm kind of like you. I just go live when I feel like it, and
yeah.
you know, don't worry about that. Just stream when you feel like streaming. Don't worry about me, because I go live when I want to, and I'm just like, I just want to be live. I just want to talk to people. So
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's enjoyable when people are like interactive in chat.
yeah, I totally
Although
agree.
it's a double-edged sword, because sometimes it's I feel pressured to do something interesting when I just want to dick around with kick drums. So it's like it's got its ups and downs, and that's probably why I've been streaming less. Is because when I want to produce or make sounds, I don't want to feel like I have to entertain. I just want
Yeah.
to mess around. So that's the only thing I've noticed with streaming that I'm not a big fan of.
Have you ever tried streaming like while turning your mic off?
Oh, like quiet streams? Yeah, I have thought about that. But then people start asking questions in chat, and I'm just like, social interaction. I need it.
That's why, like, if you can, just get a mod. Greedo actually is a really, I'm so glad that I modded Greedo, because he really helps me out with a lot of the answering questions and things like that in the chat. So just find somebody that's like really consistent in your chat, and then make them a mod, and then tell them to answer all your questions, and then like make sure that you know how important they are. Thanks, Greedo. That is a luxury by all means. No, but in any case, you know, usually a lot of people are really eager to do that, and you can kind of just look at chat and be like, I agree, or sure, No. Okay. That's not ironic. That's Kawinky Dinkle. Um, but yeah, for sure. Well, right on, Hako. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for the kind words, Alec. Listen, I don't believe in coincidences. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you had as much fun as I did. And let's do this again sometime soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I will. I'm looking forward to your next stream too. I'll drop in for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I'll most likely be live tomorrow-ish, and then same. If I ever catch you live, I always kind of come in. But yeah, I think that'll be us. That's it for us, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and you guys can always go to Hako's channel if you want to ask other questions and stuff, or come to my Discord and all that stuff. And you know where to find us. We're kind of like the YouTube dwellers. Remind me when we hop off. There was another question that I wanted to ask you, but I'll write it down for next time. Anyways, I'll see you all later. Hako, do you want to stay on for just a short minute after I end the stream?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
We need to chat. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm kidding. All right, I'll see you guys later.